Alright, so where we left off last time, we were able to create the explosions for both the meteor and then the ship. So if we shoot, there's a nice fluid explosion. If it hits us, there's also an explosion occurring there as well. Right? There are some couple things that we do have to change, or at least I have to change on mine. So notice how slow all of the meteors are spawning back. I don't think I changed that. And also, as soon as it hits the ship, it's gone. So let's go back up here, and if you already have this, then awesome. But I realized that I didn't do it. So my self radius, I changed this to 0.85, and I changed it for both of the meteor and for the ship as well. In addition to that, moving down to the meteor, I realized that for my spawn, this is still at 3, and it should be 2 comma 8. Okay, if you already have that, it's 2 comma 8, perfect. I just remembered there was a video, maybe like last time or the one before that, where I had slowed it down to show something. And then the last thing is uh here. Okay, so instead of using where this says that the check to see if any of the meteors hit the ship, when it hits the ship, and I'm gonna see if I can show you this with a bigger meteor, look at where the explosion occurs. So see if we can get a big meteor. Look, someone's out of bounds. Okay, so like this one, check to see with explosion. You see how it's like a little bit above the ship? That's just because the meteor is the one that's exploding. So we can either choose to keep that, or we can just make a new one here. Okay, so we can either do that, or we can just make a new one, just do small explosion. Actually, you know what? We won't do that. We'll just change this to player. So instead of it using the middle or the center of the meteor, we'll use the center of the ship. That way, when there's an explosion, it's going to occur right at the center and not look like it's above, right? It's better that it looks like it's in the middle of the ship than above it. So doing that, you'll see that now it's definitely looks a little bit more better. It looks like the explosion's occurring. In this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna first we have to import all the images for the final ship explosion, and then we have to program that. So to do that, we actually made an empty list called ship explosion, but we never used it anywhere. Right, so these we're going to hold all of the images just for that final explosion. And if you go to the images or the image folder, right, I have a bunch of images here called ship explosions from all the way from 0 through 8. Now notice that this is from 0 through 8 the same way that our regular explosion was from 0 through 8, which means that instead of making a whole new for loop, I can just tack on and just continue from this for loop here. And this was the for loop that we had used to get the regular explosion, then transform them for a large one, and then transform them for a small one. So what I'll do here is I'll say ship explosion. Okay, oh sorry, I should probably do that. It's red, okay. Another colleague of mine. So ship explosion is equal to get image. All right, and in our get image, what we'll do is we're going to then do this. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this instead of writing it out, and I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to get this image. Okay, and then I'm going to put dot format I. Now, in order for me to use this dot format, I need to go here and I need to place a curly open and a close braces here, because what I want to do is this is more like a placeholder, and I guess we can put this here. Maybe we think of this as a placeholder, okay, for I. And in addition to that, then we'll say ship explosion dot append ship expl, and I totally spelled that wrong. Okay, right, so this is going to go ahead and get that format. It'll go from 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, since the range is up until 9. And then we can also pass this argument here being black, since we need to make that outer part of the rectangle, it's a black image, and we need to make that transparent, just fade it out. Okay, I think it is this, I'm not sure, but we'll see as we do it. All right, so if we were to run the program right now, nothing would happen. Instead, what we need to do now is we need to determine where this is going to occur. Okay, so it's not going to occur where the bullet hits the meteor. It is going to occur here, and we see that we have this piece here that says if the health is less than 0, we'll end the game. So instead of ending the game, what we'll do is we'll just say, okay, we're going to make final explosion is equal to explosion. And if you remember, in our explosion class, we had to pass two different things here, and this was the type of explosion, which was list, either small or in this case large. Here, since we're dealing with a ship, we'll pass this list called ship explosion. And we need to figure out where you want the center to be. So if the ship is the one that's exploding, that's our player class. So we use the player.rect.center. And then finally, to display that to the screen, all sprites.add final explosion. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what this shows up. Okay, all right. Well, first of all, actually, you know what I'm gonna do is this. Okay, we'll just let it run. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna get hit, and you see that it just exploded and it cut off. All right, now if I were to take off this running piece here, this will show what it's supposed to look like. Because it looked like it was about to, and then it just got cut off right at the end, right? So we're just gonna go ahead and get thing, and you'll see that now it is exploding. Okay, it's exploding a lot, which we'll talk about later. But you do see the whole frames being projected there. All right, so now we need to do a couple of things. We want to be able to show that whole frame, so let's go up here and let's do a couple of edits here. Let's see. So it's going to be back and forth, me scrolling up and down, so I apologize about that. I'm literally doing this as it comes to my head right now. So what we're going to do now, let's have a self.lives is equal to 2. Okay, now when you have an explosion of a ship, right, what generally happens? In my experience, the ship explodes, it's no longer there, then after like a certain amount of time, then it will reappear again. Okay, so like that's what we have to think about. Now we could actually make it disappear. That would require a little bit more code, or what we can do is, and the player is never going to know this, right? But what we can do is that we can just move the image literally off the screen for a certain amount of time, and then after like 1 or 2 seconds, just reappear the image again. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. So again, I'm scrolling back down here, and what we'll say is after we show this explosion, we'll call the method hide ship. Okay, and this will literally hide the ship. Now we don't have a method called this yet, so we're gonna go ahead and just create this. Going all the way back up now to the player class. Okay, here's our area where we write our method. So define hide ship. Okay, I'll pass self, and this will literally move the ship off the screen for a certain amount of time, right? For a certain amount. Well, actually, just move the ship off the screen. Well, we can write something else for that. All right. So if I do that, we can say self.rect.center x is equal to width divided by 2. This could really be anything off the screen, but a little bit consistency. Self.rect.y. If you're going to move it vertically off the screen, that would be the height plus anything. So plus 100. Okay, so since we are doing it from y, you just have to make sure that we go way below. Might as well just go way below it, right? And if we were to call this now, this should work. And let's see what happens. Now, when I do the coding, I do know how to write it perfectly the first time, but I want to show you like the small things that will happen, right? So if you just wrote it like this and you called it, it does move off the screen. See how it exploded, now it's gone? So the ship is below, but then it never comes back. Okay, and so that's what we want to get back now. Right, so this is more like a tutorial, but I'm showing you all of the mistakes that I know that I've made so many times. Okay, so to do this, there are 2 things. Okay, in order to know when it comes back, that would imply a timer. So self.hide ship timer. That's probably a bad name, right? PyGame.time.getTicks. I'm gonna have fun writing that out. And then what we'll also do is we'll also use a flag. Okay, so we'll have to like check. Once it goes off the ship, you'll notice it never came back, and so we can use a flag to determine. Okay, well, you know what? If this flag is true, then that means it's hidden. If it's false, that means it's not hidden. We can bring it back. So we can say ship is hidden is equal to false right now. Okay, because once I start the game up, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna totally copy this because I'm gonna mess this up. And then to determine now, let's see what we need to do here. Well, we need to go to our update section. We need to say check if the ship is currently off the screen, right? So this is like a little note for myself here. If it is, okay, so I guess we spawn after 1.5 seconds. Okay, so to do that, we need to then do this. So when we're calling the hide ship, it does move it off. Okay, we're gonna start our timer. So self.hide ship timer. So as soon as this method is called, it starts keeping track of the time, right? PyGame.time.get ticks, and we'll say that ship is hidden. That's gonna become true. Okay, so I tried to make the name of the attribute kind of like what it's about. So ship is hidden will now be true, meaning that we are going to move this off the screen. Okay. All right. So now to check if it is off the screen, we have to say if self.ship is hidden. Okay, and I don't have to write equals true. Just writing if self.ship is hidden, this automatically means that it is true because it is a boolean, so it's going to return a value, true or false. So if it's true, and okay, if it's true that it is hidden, but also that a certain amount of time has passed, which we can say by pygame.time.get minus self.hide ship timer. Hide ship timer. Wow. Okay, is greater than, now this is in milliseconds, so this is the same thing as saying 1.5 seconds. Then what we'll have to do is we need to create, or rather set, this back to false. Okay, and then we need to make the ship reappear, which is we can say by self.rect.centerx. So we wanted to reappear back at the original. The original coordinates was the center x is equal to width divided by 2, and self.rect.bottom, right, that was the bottom of the rectangle, that was height minus 10. Okay, so if we go ahead and rerun this, let's see what happens. Hopefully there's no mistakes. Okay. All right, so bam, bam, it's gone. 1.5 seconds, and it does reappear, but you'll see that there are issues there right now. So let's try that one more time. I'm gonna run that again really quickly. Okay. Let me try that. See that? I'm not too sure what just happened there, so let's see what's up. Okay, so we have this dies, and oh no, it repaired properly. Okay, so that might have just been a glitch on my end. All right, so if I go ahead now, of course, what you'll notice is that I'm dying after every shot, right? If you look at the top right, you're gonna see that my health is still in the negatives, which is less than 0. So this tells us that we're gonna have to set that back to 100, right? Okay, good. So it looks like that might have just been like a random little glitch there going on, or maybe there was a meteor. I don't even remember. All right, so then when you come down here all the way to the bottom, okay, after we call this function, which is going to move the ship and all that other stuff, we're going to have to say player.health is equal back to 100. So this will reset us back to 100, and then it will allow us to go ahead and take more hits. Okay, then we have player.lives, which is, I think, is what we did up there as well. We're going to say minus equals to 1. Okay, now I'm just going to go check to see if I wrote that, because I actually don't remember if I put that in there. I did put that in there. Okay, cool. So we'll keep it at 2 for now. You can change it to whatever it is that you like, but we'll keep it there. And again, I'm gonna run the program just to show you what's happening. So, all right, so I'm gonna shoot a little bit. I missed that. Okay, hit, gone, comes back, right? Health is at 100 there on the top left. I can take more hits now without dying. Big one, bam, it's gone, right? But you'll see that the ship does reappear again. Technically, the game's supposed to be done. We can put here a running is equal to false, okay? And just, I'm gonna put this here because there was a small issue that occurred at the beginning that we have not yet addressed. And so let me just show you really quickly what that would look like, okay? So I'm just gonna just go ahead and just let it kill me real quick. Bam. Okay, now you'll see that it's just completely gone, right? It's done. It didn't even get a chance to finish all of that stuff. And I shouldn't have I should have actually made my own if statement for like if player.lives is 0. But what we'll do over here is we'll say if player.lives is equal to 0. Okay, so we started off with 2. We get that additional 1. We get a set back to 100. If it's equal to 0, we're not going to say running is equal to true, false, because you'll see that it just cuts it off mid-explosion. What we'll say is, and let me think. I think it's better if I just show it to you. So do you remember that when the bullets went off the screen or the meteors got hit, we used this self.kill over here, and the self.kill just removes the sprites from all the groups. Okay, we're not going to use that. We're going to use the one below that, which is alive. Now, self.alive, right, or whatever .alive, depending on the sprite, this asks, does the sprite belong to any groups? Okay, it's a Boolean, so it returns true when the sprite belongs to one or more groups. Now, this final explosion does belong to a group. It belongs to the all sprites that add group. Okay, so we're going to say, if I said if player.lives equals 0 and final explosion dot alive. Okay, so this says, is the final explosion still alive? Okay, if it's still alive, we obviously don't want to end the game, but this program here is, or this line of code here is end the game if the player is out of lives and explosion images are done. Okay, so I'm going to put not over here. So if the number of lives is 0 and the final explosion, the whole frames there for the final explosions is not alive, okay, not alive meaning that it no longer belongs to any sprite groups, right? And if you remember from the explosion class, okay, in this line, when the current frame is equal to the number of elements in or the length of the list, then it would automatically kill itself. It will remove itself from all the groups. So this line does make sense when we say now if the number of lives is 0 and if the final explosions is not alive, meaning that it is no longer part of any groups, we can say running is equal to false. And let us see what this looks like. Okay, so hit, spawn, perfect, right? Hit, gone, right? Perfect. That's exactly what it is that we wanted. And so we will end the video here because I don't want to put too much into one. I think that this was already kind of a lot to follow. Please make sure you go back and rewatch and see, make sure you understand anything, ask me questions, and also give a like if you thought it was helpful. Bye.